It's Professor Moylan, and let's start our discussion of retailing with the definition, and it's really simple. Retailing is the sale of goods and services to the ultimate consumer for personal non-business use. Retailing, the sale of goods and services to the ultimate consumer for personal non-business use. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's in a physical bricks and mortar store, although a lot of times when we think retailing, we think physical store. It can be in a physical store, but it can also be delivered electronically via the internet. I should say purchased electronically via the internet, even if it's delivered by the U.S. Postal Service or UPS or whatever. If it's sold to the ultimate consumer, that is retailing. Okay, a couple of trends in retailing. Well, because of so much competition from internet retailers, often called e-tailers, traditional retailers are definitely struggling. Lots of historically strong retailers have gone away. You know, the bankrupt retailers is a very, very crowded club. The most recent one was Sports Authority in 2016. American Apparel went into Chapter 11 in 2015, as did Radio Shack. Borders closed their doors in 2011. Circuit City went belly up in 2008. And Woolworths, who at one time had been the largest market capitalization company in the world, went bankrupt in 1999. Even those that aren't bankrupt are closing stores. Related store closings are the hottest trend in retail, no doubt about it. If we want to look at the entire sector, we can look at a stock view of the sector. And so here we've got the retail trade sector. What this says is it is up, but just not as much as the S&P 500. I have to admit, I was surprised that the entire sector was doing this well. Over the past 3 months, it's been up almost 6%, which is a little bit below the S&P 500 average of up about 9%. Okay, some facts about retailing, the role of retailing. U.S. retailers employ more than 15 million people, although every U.S. adult, well, not every U.S. adult, but half of all U.S. adults will work retail at some point in their lives. Retailers account for 11% of total U.S. employment. They account for 10% of all U.S. businesses. A lot of retailers are very, very small, mom and pop, and the industry is dominated by a few giants like Walmart. Retail stores do evolve over time. The wheel of retailing hypothesis states that for most retail stores that start out, their reason for being is they're offering lower prices. So they start out basically no frills, low prices, but then as they develop clientele, they start to add services, add components, and then move up. And that has proved to be true in case after case. Okay, let's look at the different types of retail stores and their characteristics. We can group them among a number of different types of stores. Let's go ahead and start with department stores. You know what department stores are. Those are stores like Macy's. They're called department stores because they have a lot of different departments of merchandise. Now, specialty stores have a narrow merchandise assortment. An example of a specialty store would be someone that has just very, very unique type of lines, a deep but narrow assortment of merchandise. These would be a lot of the stores that are in malls, Dockers that only has Dockers, Foot Locker that only has athletic shoes, B. Dalton that only has books, and so on. So a lot of those mall stores are so-called specialty stores. Supermarket, well, of course, you know what a supermarket is. The traditional strong supermarkets include Kroger and Albertsons. If we look at a list of the top 100 retailers, we can see that those with a red arrow are traditional supermarkets: Kroger, Safeway, Publix, H.E. Butt, Albertsons, Meijer. But if you look at number one there, Walmart, and number three there, Costco, while not traditional supermarkets, they sell groceries, so they're really part of the mix as well. Convenience stores, sometimes abbreviated to C stores, these have just a few items. Their prices tend to be kind of high. You run in there for, as the name says, convenience. That would be 7-Eleven. They're the largest convenience store chain in the U.S. Circle K. One thing about convenience stores is they almost always have gas as well. They're petroleum retailers as well as the merchandise that's inside. Uh, while 7-Up and Circle K are not traditional gas retailers, the third largest convenience store chain is AMPM, which is wholly owned by Arco, Atlantic Richfield Company, one of the largest petroleum companies in the U.S. Continuing on with our different types of stores, drugstores have pharmacies along with the rest of their merchandise. The drugstore industry is very consolidated. There are three chains, Walgreens, CVS, and Rite Aid, that really dominate the entire drugstore industry. Full line discounters, these have a full line of merchandise, but they discount off of the MSRP, or the manufacturer's suggested retail price. Walmart, of course, the dominant full line discounter, but Walmart has evolved. They're not just a mass merchandise discounter anymore, with the conversion of so many of their stores into Walmart super centers that have basically full-blown grocery stores attached to the mass merchandise store. They are much more than they used to be. It's interesting, the three biggest full-line discounters all debuted the same year, and those three full-line discounters are, in addition to Walmart, Target, and Kmart. Specialty discounters are like specialty stores in that they've got a focus on a particular type of product line, but specialty discounters are a lot bigger than the traditional specialty stores, and that's why they're sometimes called big box stores, or sometimes category killers. And they're called category killers because they really have hurt the smaller specialty stores, the traditional specialty stores. Among the leading specialty discounters are Best Buy in the area of electronics, Barnes& and Noble in the area of books, Office Depot in the area of office supplies, and Toys R Us, who was really the first big specialty discounter. Toys R Us killed the small toy stores. Office Depot really hurt small stationery stores. Barnes& and Noble really hurt the small bookstores. Best Buy hurt the small electronic stores. But it really all started with Toys R Us, this, toy superstore, if you will. Warehouse clubs. Now, this is an interesting type because it's not a pure retailer. It's a hybrid. It's a retailer and a wholesaler. Price Club was the very, very first warehouse club. Price Club invented this concept, but it's been done very, very well by Costco, who eventually absorbed Price Club. Costco's far and away the dominant player in this industry. Notice how Costco doesn't call themselves a retail, they call themselves Costco Wholesale. But if you go in there to buy stuff for yourself, it's a retailer for you. Sam's Club is Walmart's warehouse club store. And then there's also much, much, much smaller, but in the Northeast, BJ's Wholesale. Uh, Interesting background on Price Club. It's called Price Club not because they have low prices, but the founder, his name was Saul Price, and Price Club was not his first new venture. He started Gemco in the mid-50s. Well, whereas Price Club really became kind of the blueprint for Costco, who did it more successfully, Gemco was really the blueprint for Walmart, which did it more successfully. So Saul Price, quite the pioneer in retailing, but didn't quite operate as well as some other people. Off-price retailers are called off-price retailers because they offer deep discounts of non-routine merchandise. In other words, when you go in there, you're never sure exactly what the merchandise is going to be. And the reason is the merchandise is selected opportunistically by what's available, what producers are trying to get rid of. Now, off-price retailers can contain almost any manufacturer's products. Well, that would be what you'd find in TJ Maxx. Or sometimes what manufacturers do is they operate their own, and those are called manufacturers outlets. Like in the case here, the Polo Ralph Lauren outlet, there's only Polo Ralph Lauren goods in there. There are now some malls that have nothing but manufacturers outlets in them. Uh, Destination locations for shopping, looking for deep, deep, deep discounts, even though you're not sure exactly what type of merchandise might be available there. One other form of retailer, which hasn't really made it much in the United States, but they're big in Europe, are called hypermarkets. Carrefour, a French company, is the largest player in this. Now, a hypermarket is a grocery store and department store combined. Now, the average Carrefour hypermarket has 220,000 square feet of sales space. To put that in perspective, the average Walmart supercenter has about 150,000 square feet of space. So it's 50% again as big as a traditional Walmart supercenter, which kind of operate kind of like hypermarkets. So those are the different major types of stores that are out there.